Do I have to repeat that, Joe? We'll start again. Welcome, everybody. We'll go through that bit. Welcome, everybody. We didn't have the green light flashing. It's like the trots. Everyone's in attendance with the exception Councillor Bingham is online. The recording of these meetings are one for the Mirrabul News and for the Star Weekly, also for our own people, so that we can go back through the records and create minutes. So there you go. So with that, we've got no apologies. Could I have someone confirm the minutes? Thank you, Councillor Sullivan. Second, and Councillor Kerr. Those in favour, so carried. So at this point, is there any matters arising from them said minutes? No? Right, so disclosure of conflicts of interest, please. Anything on tonight's agenda? No? Beautiful. Thank you. No presentations, deputations. We'll move straight into business. We have two speakers for item 9.1, which is the use and development of a group accommodation, 3 dwellings for short-stay tourist accommodation at 1872 Bland Daylesford Road, Kawinji Bora. And the first speaker we have is Teresa Pastor. Is that right?
That's me.
G'day. How are you? If you'd like to come up the front here.
Okay.
And there's a green light. You push the button at the bottom of the microphone.
There's a red light.
Just the light. Just push the. If you push it, it'll go green for you.
Oh,
there you go. Green light's flashing. So there we go.
Thank you.
And you have 3 minutes. So
I have 3 minutes, okay.
there you go.
All
the
right,
floor is yours.
Thank you very much. My name is Teresa Pastori of 1856 Bland Daylesford Road in Kawinji Bora, direct neighbours to the proposed planning application at 1872 Bland Daylesford Road. As addressed in our objection, I reiterate the impact on our property and privacy that this proposal will create, not to mention loss of property value and the negative impact on the surrounding environment. As you know, Kawinji Bora is a small rural hamlet with a population of around 200 residents, making it the ideal tree change location. We made the move 15 years ago and have retired to our 20 acres, which backs onto the Wombat Forest and is only 12 kilometres from the tourist town of Daylesford. Kawinji Bora is made up of small acreage hobby farms with an abundance of flora and fauna. I would like to talk about the impact on the enjoyment of our property and lifestyle if this proposal is approved. At the moment, when we look out our kitchen window, sit on our deck or work in our berry orchard and vegetable garden, we have a wonderful view of the neighbours' cows grazing in their paddocks. If this proposal goes ahead, all we will see is a driveway which borders on our side fence in close proximity to our home, leading to the proposed units with the potential of at least 3 cars driving in and out many times of the day and night. Kawinji Bora does not have a general store or a country pub. Therefore, visitors will be continuously driving in and out to Daylesford and beyond. The peace and quiet that we escape the city for will no longer exist. I note that NR links have indicated that fencing can be placed where there is no screenings to totally obscure the development from horticultural use. I'm not sure how this will be accomplished. My other major concern is this dangerous stretch of road. When driving south down Leonards Hill at 100 kilometres per hour and trying to turn into this driveway, which is before the 80 zone, this has a huge potential for accidents to occur. There's already been a fatality a few years ago when a motorist coming down Leonards Hill lost control of his vehicle and crashed into a tree. There are many near misses on this particular stretch of road. Tourists that visit the country are not aware of the bushfire safety. All it takes is a stray cigarette butt to cause a major catastrophe. Fire pits are another concern. I guess what I am saying is that this development will have a detrimental impact on neighbours and completely change the character of the small hamlet of Kawinji Bora. As far as I am aware, only the immediate neighbours, that is Bill to the north and us to the south, received notification of this proposal. There was a very small sign on a post, but other neighbours weren't made aware of it because as you're driving down Leonards Hill or going up Leonards Hill, you'd be silly to look to the left or to the right. You need to be focused and look at the road and watch the tradies that are speeding past you and the trucks. Kawinji Bora does not need tourist accommodation. There is an abundance of group accommodation in Daylesford. This proposal impacts our personal space and contradicts the reasoning for living in a rural setting 12 kilometres from a built-up tourist town. As far as I can see, there will be no economic benefits to Coingi-Bora. Thank you.
Councillors, any questions for the Speaker or for officers? No? Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, sorry.
Oh, Councillor Berry? Yes.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just have one question. Is there any other tourism accommodation in Coingi-Bora or nearby?
Through the chair, so we haven't had any recent plan application, so this is the only one for the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 years that we've had for short-term accommodation.
Okay. Thank you.
That's good. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Now, if I could ask Margaret Thomas, please.
Thank you.
Margie Thomas. I live at 1721 Balan Road, Coingi-Bora. I've lived there for 20 years. And thank you for the opportunity to speak and raise my concerns about the application. Meeting and living on Wadawurrung country always was and always will be. Just to make sure everyone's aware, Coingi-Bora is a small town, as Teresa has explained. Very few of you would understand or would imagine the meaning of the name itself. It's an Indigenous name, meaning either clear sparkling water or where the crane eats frogs, or the land of many waters. Open to interpretation, of course, particularly apt though when one realises that the famous spa waters of Daylesford and Hepburnshire are a matter of only a few kilometres away. Coingi-Bora indeed has just as much underground water. As I've read, the purpose of the Rural Conservation Zone description is to protect and enhance natural environment and biodiversity of the area. According to this description, dwellings are discouraged in this zone unless it can be demonstrated that the use and development of the land is consistent with identified conservation values. Some building limitations or restrictions or modifications are included in the application. However, it is my belief that this application has overlooked or not sufficiently addressed the important environmental issue of conservation of water. It's important to recognise that Coingi-Bora is a vital water catchment area with many small creeks, with many small creeks feeding into the Werribee River. Up until now, rainfall has meant that the feeder creeks dominate the landscape and play an important role in keeping the river to capacity. Over the past years, we've seen a decrease in rainfall. Locals will tell you this. And an increase in extraction of underground water for farming and domestic purposes. Both are significant factors in the decline in groundwater, and the water table is falling as a result. With this in mind, we understand that the water catchment capacity will be impacted by the development. And I ask for clarification of how water will be supplied to these buildings, that is tank water or extraction of underground water to be purchased, and how this will impact on the water catchment and groundwater. Volcanic soil in this area has always been highly valued as a desirable farming asset. Rich in minerals and a great holding capacity, it's vulnerable when disturbed, and this will happen with the development. Establishing a work site, delivery of building materials, additional traffic will all impact on the landscape, both during construction as well as when completed and operating. It will take time to, or it may never recover. A narrow driveway providing access to the site is wide enough for only one car or a ute. This will pose a problem for delivery. Possible tree removal may be needed. We'd be pleased to know just how the issue of additional waste will be managed, and perhaps we can assume that bins will be provided for household rubbish, but seek clarification on regarding human waste. The C141 is the main road from Geelong to Bendigo. There's already an increased heavy-duty vehicles using the road, impacting on safety and environment, as Teresa has explained. As these vehicles approach Leonards Hill, they accelerate through the town of Coingi-Bora to make the speed up so they can get up over Leonards Hill. And on returning, travelling down at 100 k's per hour downhill before the speed limit reduces to 80. This makes for a dangerous situation. Where this development is to take place is located at a similar place where it is a decrease or an increase to speed from 80 to 100 or vice versa, and turning into driveways is already a problem. This development will add to the challenges experienced by local people. Having raised these concerns with you, it is my belief that an eco development in Coingy is not appropriate and should not go ahead. Thank you for the time spent to explain how I feel.
Councillors, any questions of the Speaker or officers? I've got a question of officers. I just want to know if the licence for the mineral set up at Coingy Bora that belongs to Foster's is still active. There's an industrial licence on the mineral water there.
Sorry, I can't hear.
There's an industrial licence on the mineral water, or there was.
I don't believe there is anymore.
Well, the land's still owned by Foster's, that's all. So, well, that's themselves.
Through Mr Chair, we'll take that on notice.
Okay, thank you. Right, thank you.
I just want to say thanks to Tom too. Tom from Planning has been really helpful with this. I'm a novice, and I think Teresa's a novice as well, but he's been more than helpful.
No worries.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. All right. Right, no, we can't take questions from the floor, sorry. Councillors, I'm in your hands. We do have an alternate motion from Councillor Sullivan.
Mr Mayor, I would agree with the officer's recommendation, but on item 16, sorry, condition 16, just a slight change to basically align with the requirements of Southern Water and Greater Western Water, so it's really just to be, I'm assuming that has been distributed to council, it's pretty,
Yes.
it's really just to align the two, so with your indulgence, I would agree with that
With an amendment, yes.
slight amendment to
Yes.
condition 16.
So we have a mover. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Ward, thank you. Do we have any dissent? Those in favour? So carried. Okay, we'll move on to 9.2. We have two speakers for this. One is the applicant, which is Sarah Fisher from Inception Planning. Sarah, please. Are you Greg Fall, are you?
Yes.
Right. Well, we'll start with Sarah and then we'll go to you, Greg. How's that sound?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I am Sarah Fisher. Good evening, councillors, and thank you very much for the opportunity to speak and for attending the site as well. As I mentioned, my name's Sarah Fisher. I'm from Inception Planning and I'm here representing our client Greg and Kayleen, and Greg is going to speak after me. Firstly, I'd like to say that it's really clear that council and councillors take very seriously what happens to the farmland within the Shire. This is completely understandable. However, this recommendation and grounds for refusal has failed to understand the policy support available to this proposal, and that it seeks to allow a long-term family farm to get up and going again, and in doing so, unlock the agricultural potential of this land. The first ground of refusal states that the proposal doesn't comply with the objectives of the farming zone. I need to point out that there are no objectives to the farming zone. Instead, there is a purpose, and this is not addressed anywhere in the report before you. For your benefit, I will quickly recap on some of the key takeaways from our planning submission, which demonstrates that this application aligns with the purpose of the zone and why it is also an orderly proposal, which is another ground of refusal, though not elaborated on. The application maintains the majority of the agricultural land and its infrastructure in one uninterrupted parcel, which can be used in a functional way. Keeping the majority of the agricultural land in one large lot has considered the topography of the land. There's a low point to the north rather than a haphazard layout. No new access points are proposed or required. The small lot containing the dwelling has ample room to ensure wastewater can be treated and retained within the lot, and the existing pattern of land use will not alter. Consideration of the purpose of the zone is a fundamental to the assessment of an application, and it's unclear why this has been omitted. The second ground of refusal states that an area of just 2 hectares is not justified in the context of the agricultural use of the land. Councillors, I suggest that this ground of refusal further demonstrates the point that this application has missed. The application proposes an outcome which retains the majority of agricultural land on one lot to ensure the agricultural land base is retained and is available for use and production. Council's own policy has a strategy to allow the excision of a lot for a dwelling where it would facilitate the ongoing agricultural use of the remaining land. And in doing so, it provides a policy guideline for a maximum area of 2 hectares for any lot created, for a dwelling that is smaller than the minimum lot size. The configuration of each lot before you is in direct response to Council's own policy. So for the planning report before us tonight to say there's no policy support for the proposal within the Moorabool planning scheme is untrue. The third ground of refusal says the proposal does not comply with policy which seeks protection of the for agricultural purposes. This is a very broad ground which does not identify which particular policies, and I would suggest perhaps speaks of a one-size-fits-all approach to this refusal. Additional information was provided to Council to set out how the application would support the rejuvenation and long-term viability of the farm. No mention of this justification has been made in the report, nor has it delved into the individual nature of the application. Having read the reports for both farming applications on tonight's agenda, I note the same grounds of refusal, which goes to my question about whether this application has been considered on its merits on a case-by-case basis. The other matter that cannot be ignored is the repeated reference and heavy reliance on the rural land use strategy. The report before us includes 2 full pages dedicated to the rural land use strategy, along with various other references. And at page 28, the report states that this strategy is now a seriously entertained council policy. Councillors, for an amendment to be seriously entertained, it should have been out for public submission, had the involvement of relevant authorities, considered any submission, been reviewed by an independent planning panel, and have the proposed amendment adopted by Council. I've checked Council's website and I've been in touch with the officer working on this project. There is no indication that a formal amendment process is at this advanced stage, meaning simply the strategy is not seriously entertained. A quick review of VCAT decisions will confirm this. In conclusion, the proposal is reflective of the purposes of the zone. It's well considered and an orderly proposal which aligns with council policies. The application was internally and externally referred and advertising. There were no objections to this proposal. The recommendation for refusal has not considered the application on a case-by-case basis reflected in the report and grounds of refusal which fail to present a clear and specific reason for the proposal. The land use strategy is not a seriously entertained council policy and it is inappropriate to be using it for decision making at this point in time. Councillors, if you were of the view to put forward an alternate recommendation to support this proposal, it is abundantly clear that there is more than reasonable grounds to do so. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Councillors, any questions of the Speaker or of officers? No? No? Yes? Baden? Okay. Mr Fall, your turn.
Thank you, councillors, for the opportunity to speak tonight and for attending the site to gain a greater understanding of the proposal. My name is Greg Fall and I'm the landowner seeking this subdivision. This land has been in my wife's family for approximately 100 years and Kayleen's father was actually Shire President of Bungaree before the amalgamations. In the last 10 or so years, as family members age, the property has not been consistent level of upkeep required to keep the farm running efficiently. Now that the property is ready for the next stage of tenure, we're looking to essentially play catch up and some overdue repairs and maintenance on crucial farm infrastructure to ensure that it can be used effectively, efficiently and safely. In doing so, we have identified a number of important projects that need attention and have carried out some preliminary costing and timelines. We estimate the works to be in the vicinity of $175,000 over the next few years. However, to be very frank, we do not have $175,000 at our disposal, and so this proposal is made to assist with the financial leverage. To do nothing would see the farm continue to gradually decline. Farming businesses require constant inputs and adjustments to markets, and if infrastructure such as water, fencing and shedding is not fully functional and safe, it diminishes available returns, plus becoming increasingly harder to get out of that situation as more infrastructure presents costly problems. Although Council says it values the agriculture sector and land base, a sensible and practical approach is required to support farmers in caring for and maintaining the asset. And at times that support can look like what it is being asked here. Farmers cannot be constantly asked to protect, enhance, do more, but not be allowed to use their assets in a way to support their business. The manner in which we are proposing here is one that has alignment with the planning scheme and clearly can be supported. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, any questions of Mr Paul? Yes, Councillor Manari, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Greg. The question's for you. Thank you for inviting myself out to your property, and I was able to ask and get some answers to my questions. You mentioned, and I just want clarity on this.
Yep.
So you mentioned when I was there that you may consider renting the 2 hectares out.
Well, yeah, depending on what this decision is, I suppose, yeah, but it's more so the leverage of the property on its own title to the ability to lend money to do what work we need to do.
That's what confuses me, because you obviously need money to improve the property, and that's what you're saying here today. My head's trying to get around how you would get that money, and I know that's a bit of a private, personal question, but I'm trying to work out. You're saying that you were potentially going to rent the house.
Yes.
But that still doesn't really answer my question on how would you get the funds to upgrade the rest.
With the separate title, we would actually be able to lend money against the title of the house. Right. To be able to, because to lend against the farm isn't the same scenario sort of thing, and it protects the farm from that lending, so that the house would actually be what we would lend the money against and to use on the farm.
Right, okay. That makes it a bit clearer. I'll pause for a sec to see if there's anyone else that has any questions.
Any other questions, councillors of officers? Councillor Sullivan, please.
Just have a question of Mr Fall. We have the plan of proposed subdivision on page 26 of our report, and the existing dwelling seems to be sort of located at the southern end of the proposed smaller lot. My question is, will the effluent from the existing dwelling be contained within that smaller lot?
Yes.
It does?
Yes. The area that it is enough to retain...
No, sorry. Perhaps I should. Where it is located currently, is it, or will it be located within the smaller lot? I know there's sufficient area there if you want to replace it, but is it currently there? It's
currently in the area now. The area that we're trying to excise the actual effluent line is in that area. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you. Anything else, councillors? Any other questions? Officers, speakers? No? We have an alternate motion. Councillor... Oh, you do, Councillor Manari. Yes.
Thank you. Sorry, Greg, for you again. So I just want to get an understanding of, and maybe on tonight, on exactly what sort of farming that you are planning on doing. You mentioned a few different things like share farming for potatoes.
Yeah, at the moment, probably for the next couple of years, it'll probably be just leasing the farm as we've done in the last 12 months to grow potatoes and that until we get the infrastructure that we need done. And then the guy that we've actually got leasing is interested in share farming, and that's probably another way that we can actually increase what we need to actually be able to farm ourselves. Look, we haven't got a clear thing that we're going to be our farm and we're going to farm it, but we just, at the moment, that's what we're sort of thinking, is to lease for a couple of years and then move into a share farming situation with this guy, and then, you know, eventually farm it ourselves.
Thank you.
Councillor Berry.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Oh, hi, Greg.
How are you?
It was a pleasure coming out to see the property and all that area around. I just picked up on you saying that you possibly will continue to grow potatoes. So what do you need to do to the farm now to be able to grow those potatoes? What's the... Well,
the bore there's a hole in the ground, but that needs to be redone, as in it needs to be a new bore put in. So a new bore drilled, and then from where the bore is, we need to put an underground pipe to the dam, just so that we can actually have the dam, so pump into the dam, pump water out of the dam. That's for the spuds. Fencing's probably one of the biggest things that's at the moment is probably the most important thing, so that we can keep other people's stock out and our own stock in. But the water is probably the main thing at the moment, is just to be able to pump the water out of the ground.
Can I just have a second question? Thank you. Can you tell me exactly on your block where the bore is?
It'd probably be 3/4 of the way down in the middle. Yeah, 3/4, sort of, if you can see can you see where the dam is?
I'd have to look at... I could see it while I was out there. I pointed in the paddock.
Yeah, well, that was
so
the
back
dam,
round
and then
there.
I think it's probably about 300 metres from the dam to where the actual bore is. Yes, which the bore at the moment is just a steel pipe in the ground because it's not... it's rusted, as in it can't draw water out of it that way, so it needs to be sunk again and a new steel pipe put down to actually have the suction to draw the water out. I don't think it's been used as a bore for probably 10 years.
Okay. Just another question. I'm not real good with bores. I don't know a lot of information, so it's... Obviously, you know it's got water in there?
Yeah,
so
there's definitely water there. Yeah, we had it tested probably about 6 months ago. A guy come out and went down the original thing, and there's definitely water there. And we've got a 30 meg allowance on the property that was with the property when my wife inherited it. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Menard.
Thank you. Sarah, you might be able to help with this one. It's on the document that you sent to us this week, on page 17, and it states this proposal is also aligned with the farming zone purpose of retaining employment and population to support rural communities. So I suppose, Greg, the question to you as well. In saying that in the document, could you elaborate on what that means for the future?
Sure. I'm happy to, given that was part of the submission I put together. So I guess what it's getting at is basically saying that, you know, a functional and operational farm doesn't happen in isolation. So even if you don't necessarily employ someone on your property, you may well have contractors that come in at different times depending on what your operation is. You know, you might need to buy fertiliser or ag supplies or whatever it needs. You might use the local stock agent. So depending on the type of operation, you're going to be integrating and using, you know, local businesses, suppliers, community. Maybe you get someone in to help with seasonal work. So, and I guess that's my point, that an operational farm, if Greg's application can get up and going and can be more productive, it can be, you know, involved in the community in that way. That's the point I was trying to make.
I'll have a subsequent, thank you.
Councillor Menard.
Thank you. So, Greg, you mentioned to me when I was out there that you don't plan to live on the property.
Oh, look, we probably... Well, yeah, we sort of haven't made any decisions in that based on what this decision would be. If this was to go ahead, we probably would live at the property.
You would?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
In the house?
Yeah, which we do at the moment.
Right. And another one. I'm just getting to my point. So, I'm just thinking out loud here. I'm thinking 130 something acres. Whatever it is, 52 hectares. So in this day and age, to build a business on that size acreage, do you see it being full-time, part-time?
Pretty well full-time, as in probably if I was 20 years younger, I'd probably say it wouldn't be full-time, but for what we require these days, I think it would be full-time. It would be enough work for us to do. And like, as in what that size land, it depends on what you grow to. If you grow what everyone else is growing, well, it's probably not a big enough farm for that, but it's probably more so, you know, short term is to being able to lease the farm at a competitive rate with the infrastructure in place, because at the moment we sort of really can't attract a good income from a lease because of the infrastructure that's not there. So it's probably a matter of getting up to that stage where we're equal with everyone else, and then, you know, that's sort of moving on from there to the share farming, and then moving on to there to create an income, which is not something that, you know, the farmer next door probably creates, but it'll be enough for us.
And is farming new to you, or have you had...
I grew up in the Western District, yeah, and so I was on a farm until I was 18, and I've sort of been a little bit involved with Kayleen's father and that since I've been in the district. This was probably when he was in health, probably 10 or 15 years ago, but it's been pretty much since then. I haven't been involved in the last 10 years because it sort of hasn't been an option.
All right, thank you.
Just before we go to the alternate motion, the bore you spoke of, is that a licensed bore?
Yes. Yeah.
For how many meg?
30.
No worries. And not mineral water? Just
No, just water, yeah. Just.
All right, so we have an alternate motion. Councillor Ward.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, I've put forward an alternate recommendation for approval. Would you like me to speak through that?
Preamble on it, if you could, please, Councillor Ward.
Yeah, I think there's quite a few precedents where we have supported similar applications, and I suppose we're also supporting generational farming, noting the history of the family on this site. And I think the rural land use strategy has been discussed at length, but it's designed to protect agricultural land. And in this case, I think it'll allow the applicant to invest in the farm to make it a functional farm, and it will improve exactly what the land use strategy is designed to do, which will improve the productivity of the farm and allow the farm to be an ongoing business.
Thank you, Councillor. Well, we have it moved by Councillor Ward. Do we have a seconder for the motion? Thank you, Councillor Sullivan. Do we have any dissent? Have dissent? So take it to debate. Councillor Ward, please.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. As we've discussed, the proposal involves subdivision of 52 hectares, 2 hectares for the house and 50 hectares for the farm. I've thought long and hard about this. I actually haven't, in my 5 years on council, to the best of my recollection, I don't think I've actually put forward an alternate at a DAC. And that's, I suppose that shows how much thought I've given into this. And I note the rural land use strategy is designed to protect agricultural land, but I also note we cannot take a blanket approach, and as my colleague across from me, Councillor Sullivan, often says, you need to assess each case on its merits and consider the human factor. So the proposal to subdivide involves the house lot excision and very minimal reduction in farming land that is currently not really being farmed. There were no objections to the application. The applicant has done everything to comply. The applicant has provided further information to Central Highlands Water and Council's Public Health. It's mentioned in our notes that it doesn't represent orderly planning. I think orderly planning depends on the context of the site and the location. Directly opposite and nearby is zoned public use. There's a reservoir, several reservoirs and picnic areas. The site allows dual access, existing drive into the house and there's access to the farm from Kearses Road. So I present that it's orderly planning. And there is a number of dwellings in the area on smaller lots. There's currently people living in the house, and that will continue. Now, on page 29 of our report, it states that large-scale farming is considered the highest priority, and with new dwellings in the zone specifically discouraged. This does not involve new dwellings. In fact, the applicant has specifically stated there'll be no new dwellings if the subdivision goes ahead, and it will enhance large-scale farming in the area. The basis of the application is that the title for the property is in several names, and this subdivision allows the opportunity to clean up the titles and, as the applicant has pointed out, borrow against the house to improve and invest in the farm and return it to productive farm landing and what has been generational farming. The investment in the farm aligns with the purpose of the zone, and the applicant will continue to farm high-quality soil agriculture. There are plenty of examples of precedents over the past few years where we've allowed subdivision, often with a dwelling. This one is not with a dwelling. This subdivision does not involve any dwelling, and it will allow additional investment in farming and agricultural land, which is the purpose of our rural land use strategy. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ward. Councillor Minari, please.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. As a farmer myself, this is obviously not lost on me. I take these things extremely seriously, and we have been here every month discussing very similar applications, and I'll be honest, I really grappled with this one. But there's one thing missing for me, and I'll keep it short. It's the vision, farm management plan. It's easier to make this decision because there's just more vision. it's spelt out, and unfortunately, I can't say yes to this one because there's too many questions still unanswered for me. Other subdivisions, we see, lots of thought process and yearly planning to a point where they know where they want to be in 5 and then 10 and then 20 years' time. So for me, I'm sorry, I really struggled with this one, and unfortunately I can't support it. Thank you.
Just at this point, I'll ask the councillors that if they want to foreshadow an alternate to the alternative. I recognise that there is a recommendation in the papers as well, but just giving you the opportunity. Councillor Sullivan, please.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. We've had a number of these similar type applications come to council over the journey. All of them unique in one way or another. They are all different. But I think we just need to sort of try to understand, how do we achieve the objectives of the farming zone? How do we achieve it? Do we sort of lock it up like a theme park where there's no development occurs, and that's really what it is, and that's all it will be, a theme park, where people pay their $1 and they can come and walk through in a theme park? That's all it'll be. Or do we want to create a thriving agricultural environment where we it's dynamic, it allows change, it's changing all the time? Because that's what it comes down to. I mean, some years ago, there was some work done by Trevor Budge and Associates at Greater Shepparton, Gunnawara, and I can't think of the other municipality. And basically what came out of that is that farming properties would have to double every 10 years to remain viable. Double every 10 years to remain viable. That scenario does not exist in Moorabool Shire because of the high value of the land. It just cannot happen. So we have to be innovative how we go about trying to protect our agricultural land. And the best way to protect agricultural land is to have people working and farming the land. Working and farming the land to maximise its potential. And that's what we have to strive for. And I see this as a mechanism to allow us to achieve that objective. Albeit it doesn't tick every box. It doesn't tick every box, I'll admit that. But it ticks enough boxes. So, councillors, I would commend this recommendation to you. Thank you very much, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Sullivan. The reason why I asked if someone wanted to foreshadow is that when we're in debate and someone mentions that questions are unanswered, it allows that ability to defer because of that reason. That's the reasoning. So, councillors, anyone else wish for or against? Councillor Berry.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm actually against, just first of all, the property opposite is not a PUZ, it's to the left. The exact opposite is a farming zone. This property is in the highest productive value land for agriculture, and it really concerns me that we would be fragmenting, particularly with the house property of 2 hectares. It becomes lifestyle living then, and down the track could possibly be sold separately. It does concern me that there's no house on the property, and therefore down the track we can't envisage that there would be. There is no strong farming plan, and protecting agriculture is just a big yes for me, given we're a growth area and we are continuing to see growth, and there's a lot of land that could be jeopardised moving forward. And just the greatest, this area is the high end of land for productive agriculture. Thank you.
Okay. Just before I go to any other debate, I'll just ask a question of the GM. On the basis that there would be over 100 acres left over, there would be an as-if right to build on that land, the agricultural land?
That's correct, Mr Chair.
Thank you. Councillors, anyone else for, sorry? Yeah, well, it's basically, there is an as-of right, if there's 100 acres left, that, because you mentioned in your debate that the house couldn't be built there, well, they have a right to it. Yes, but you said there wouldn't be a house there, so I'm just clarifying it. Councillor Minari, you have a question, obviously.
Not a question.
I think you need a question. Turn it into a question.
Okay, I'll ask a question. Am I able to foreshadow a motion to defer
Well, you
if
are.
this one is lost?
Yes, you are.
Thank
you. Right, where are we? Councillors, anyone else wish to speak for or against? No. Close the debate, please. Councillor Ward.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, I'm thinking about this, and I think I hear my colleagues speak, and I'm just wondering what the difference is about this. At the moment, we have an opportunity to increase the productivity of this farming land, and the applicant has been quite open and transparent in the need to use the property for investment. So, Councillor Minari spoke about the vision. I thought Mr Fall outlined his vision quite clearly. Invest in the bore, increase the irrigation on the farm, initially to get the farm back on its feet, share farm with spuds, increase the fencing, invest in the farm to make it more productive than it currently is. I understood the vision, and if there's unanswered questions, we've had the opportunity to ask those questions. So I think this application complies with the objectives of the farming zone, and the fact is at the moment we have one property on a farm that is, and we're going to, if we approve this, we're going to have one property on a separate title with a farm. So I think it's going to be more productive, and it meets the objectives of our rural land use strategy, and I'm fully supportive of the application.
Okay, Councillor. So we have an alternate motion on the table that's been moved and seconded. We've had a debate. Those in favour of the alternate motion? The motion is carried. I'll just note that Councillor Bingham was in the affirmative on the screen. Righto. Yes.
There was no objectors to this, so this will be issuing a permit, not a notice of decision. Okay,
yes.
Thank you.
Yes. I think I'll clarify that with the speakers. So, just so everybody's clear, Sarah and Greg, that they will issue a permit as per the decision. So you'll get a yes, as per the alternate motion. I assume you've seen it. So yes. I assume you've seen it. The alternate. Yes. We'll give it to you afterwards. No worries. All right. Yeah. We'll show you what's approved anyway. So we'll move on to item 9.3, development and use of a dwelling at 88 Tierney's Road, Dunstown. We have one speaker. G'day, Troy. If you'd like to come up the front and get the green light flashing. And yes, we do have an alternate to this as well. I wonder why I haven't got a copy. So anyhow. Mr. Pettigan.
Mr Mayor, how
are you, sir?
Yeah, good, thank you. Sorry about the attire, but I just finished. So.
The floor is yours.
Thank you, councillors. As per previous meeting, I'm Troy Pettigan, owns Inglenook Dairy, manufacturing plant at 265 Tea Tree Road. As I said, we also own our own dairy farm. And I think the last meeting that we had, I believe that possibly the council was in agreement that it was in compliance with maybe the farming zone. There's a few questions in relation to some objections to it and why we couldn't build the facility on the current 265 site. I've got some correspondence here from Dairy Food Safe Victoria and correspondence back to council with those questions that you did have. It's just not quite reflected in the latest report, but I have got some documentation there that will support those questions. And I suppose the objective to build this facility, I suppose in the current environment and the drought we are currently experiencing would be imperative to allowing us to have more productivity for our cows to feed off and milk production. with stock rotations and the damage that it does to the current grass that we do feed the milking cows, this facility would be imperative in this type of climate, and yeah, it would be a huge asset. And yeah, that's probably all I've got to say. I'm a little bit, yeah.
Good on you, Troy.
Worried by it, yeah.
Questions, councillors, to officers or Mr. Bedigan? Councillor Ward.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Troy, I think I asked the similar question last time, but just for transparency, I'll put it back out there. Why can't the existing dwelling at Inglenook Dairy support the additional calf rearing?
I've probably got some documentation from Dairy Food Safe Victoria, so if you want to have a read of that, that'd be...
Yeah, we could, if we could get an officer to do that, please.
I could probably read them out, but it might be easier if you... There's a... basically, it's because it's a production facility and obviously rearing cattle so close to a dairy manufacturing plant is not supported by Dairy Food Safe Victoria. Basically because of the extra traffic, the flies around the factory, it's just not supported that, you know, that we could actually have that facility there, especially with a food manufacturing plant as well.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, because to me that was a critical point that I didn't understand, so that should show my ignorance. Thank you.
Yep, yeah, there's quite a few dot points and support from Dairy Food Safe Victoria there.
Well, while that's going around, any other questions? Councillor Minari.
Thank you. I apologise, so I can't remember every detail we talked about last month.
Early mornings.
My question is about the fencing.
Yep.
So the map's quite good in terms of the new fence lines and the existing fence lines. So I know that your neighbour was quite, was really harping on the fact that they really wanted the fence lines updated. So are you able to talk a little bit more about, especially around the dam, and because around the dam it seems to be half done and half not.
Yep.
So
yeah, we've also contacted the neighbour that opposed that, and we agreed to do all the fencing before. So yeah, he's in agreement with that, and there's another document that supports that as well.
Wonderful, thank you.
Yeah.
Councillor Bingham, you had a question?
No question, Mr Mayor. Just that I'm happy to move the alternative motion that I've
we haven't quite got there yet, Councillor Bingham, but I'm enjoying your enthusiasm.
I'm foreshadowing that I'm moving it, mate. Oh, sorry, Mr Mayor.
That's all right, mate. Thank you, Councillor Bingham. Entertainment by Councillor Bingham for free, of course. So, where are we with the document? Is it coming around? Oh, Councillor Keogh. He's consulting the map, you might say. Well done, Councillor Keogh. Councillor Bingham's looking very toey up there. We'll hear some Chopin in a minute or two. Councillor Ward.
While that's going around, I just thought I'll chew the fat with Troy. What impact has the drought had on your business?
A huge effect, actually, with buying in extra fodder, and basically because we've got the dry cows on the current farm, we've had to shift them around a fair bit and utilise that ground, and that's probably put us probably 12 months behind in regrowth, and basically saw degradation from having those cows there, where this facility would at least give us 12 months of regrowth, because the cows be removed from that site and put on the proposed site. So that grass would be growing back, obviously, in spring. Now we've got to wait another 12 months for that to return. So it's not the best time. So something like this would definitely support the farm in those type of positions for sure.
Councillor Minari.
That's created a question of mine. On a smaller lot like this, overstocking is obviously always a concern. So, and you touched on that just then in terms of, so what...
Yep, I know.
Can you explain how you avoid overstocking?
So with the ground that we've currently proposed, overstocking is not a huge issue, and we also supply supplement feed for heifers to bring in their lactation at the right time. What this will allow us to do is actually utilise this land, but it's not milking land. This is separate from where the cows get milked. So then those pastures where those cows would be, where we propose this, will have the chance to be able to grow grass in spring, where we'd lose that grass in spring for our current milking herd. So it'll be a massive asset to actually allow for the milking herd to be able to feed off the green grass where, this property's not near the dairy, so it's isolated, so it can be actually used for that. Where they're currently situated is actually milking land. When I say milking, the cows got grass off it and produce milk for us.
Councillor Minari.
Thank you. Will there be times of the year where it will be heavily, trotted on to the point where it will turn to mud?
No.
No?
No. We sort of, it's a little bit of a lot feedment system.
Or you picture that,
Yeah, but it's not in the huge scale of, we don't lock them up and make them trot in. We can't let them degrade the soil too much, because what happens then is when they have a calf, their udders open, they get mastitis to infection, so no.
Thank you.
Cattle.
There we go. How are we going with that document there? All done? Right, now, right, thank you. Now, Councillor Bingham, here's your moment in the sun. You have an alternate motion, sir.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Thank you, Mr Mayor. An alternative motion was circulated to councillors. Councillor Minari raised about the fences. That particular issue is rectified in point 4, where the applicant needs to obstruct a fence to the approval of the relevant authority, which is, of course, in this circumstance, Mirrabel Shire Council. The applicant talked in great detail at the last meeting, and that's what prompted me to defer. So we had time to provide this alternative recommendation that works for everybody. Thank you.
All right, Councillor Bingham, you're moving the motion. Do we have a seconder from the floor, please? Thank you, Councillor Sullivan. Do we have any dissent? No. Those in favour? So carried.
Done. Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
So we'll go to any update on...
No update, Mr Mayor.
No updates? All right. Let's go to VCAT. Yes.
No VCAT updates either.
No other business, Mr Mayor.
No other business, Mr Mayor.
No other business, Mr Mayor.
No other business, thanks, Mr Mayor.
Any business?
No other business, Mr Mayor.
No other business, Mr Mayor.
No other business, Mr Mayor.